Hello, literacy enthusiasts, and welcome to LitFilmFest Live, where we discuss a classroom topic and a brand new book to go along with it. I'm Tim Miles, and tonight we'll be exploring Sue Wallman's book, I Know You Did It. Now, come on, I know you did it. Own up, everyone at home. A tense, closed-circle mystery based in the setting of a girl moving schools and having to work out where everyone fits in the high school hierarchy. Not an easy task, I'm sure you'll agree. And tonight we are joined with a real secondary school librarian by day and author by afternoon. That's right, Sue, isn't it?
Yes, that's absolutely right. Yes, and the evenings too. Yeah, I do tend to work late into the night too. Yes.
Oh wow, bookwork. Real get into them.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, if I'm not writing, I'm reading.
Yeah. How are you? You well?
Yes, thank you. Very well. And you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Yeah, I'm really excited. I read your the start of your book, because your book's out in April next year.
May 2021. Yeah.
Yeah, I read. So I got an early sneak at a chapter of your book, and really found it engaging. And also, you know, you feel the fear of moving school and, you know, having to make first impressions and work out who everyone is in the first chapter. I really enjoyed it. Would you like to tell us a little bit about it? I Know What You Did.
Yes.
I Know You Did It, isn't it?
Yes, I Know You Did It is the title, and it's about a girl, Ruby, who's moved to a new school in year 11. Obviously, this is a terrible time to move schools, and it's also 2 weeks into the term, so she's at even more of a disadvantage. And she's also bringing emotional baggage with her. Well, actually, significant baggage, not just emotional. And it's how she fits into the hierarchy, and yes, things start happening around her. Yes, bad things. There are murders in this book.
Oh wow!
Yes, and so yeah.
Great.
Yeah, she is involved in this, and you know, it's something that you wouldn't normally have in a school. But yeah, a school makes a really good setting for this sort of book.
That's quite, isn't it? Because it's very Poirot murder mystery, but set in a secondary school or teen setting. There's a nice transition of genres. Then I think I like that idea.
Yes, my previous book was set in a boarding school, and then my editor said, you know, why don't you try a school more like the one you work in? So that was a good challenge, because obviously with a boarding school it's much more closed in,
yeah.
And they have different type of freedoms. But in the second,
was that Dead Gorgeous?
Dead Popular. That one is, yes. Dead Popular. In a little plug. Oh. Yes, so that's based in a boarding school by the sea, so the beach featured heavily in that one. And this book is set in a secondary school, and I brought a bit of experience from my school into that. I mean, obviously, you know, not many bad things have happened in my school, so
good.
A lot came from my imagination, really.
Right.
Pleased to hear. Yes, but I did quiz a lot of the teachers. You know, I said, you know, I want to. I don't want to. It's really hard to talk about, you know, without giving stuff away. But you know, I did probe a lot of teachers about how to go about, you know, the murders and how it could, the logistics of it, you know, and people were really helpful and intrigued. And I spoke to students about it too, and they, as you can imagine, were brilliant and came up with lots of ideas. And you know, a little bit worrying, some of their comments. Really, they seem to have very good ideas about how you could murder someone in a school.
Yeah, they've been dreaming.
Yeah.
We're also, Sue, joined by lots of people watching tonight. So tell us who's online as well. Let us know. You can leave a comment, leave a question. Who would you like to murder? No, don't tell us who you'd like to murder in school. But whether this genre is something that you find interesting to teach about, maybe book recommendations that you know, in the same genre that you've used, or that you would find interesting for us to talk about. We want to hear from you. So yeah, who's online? Let us know. Say hi to me and Sue, so it's not just us. We want to have a chat with you. And we've also got some books to give away tonight as well, Sue. 3 lucky people will win 4 copies for books of your back catalogue, which is great. Lying About Summer, See How They Lie, Your Turn to Die, and Dead Popular. Love those titles. So to be in with a chance of winning, all you have to do is like the video and share it and comment underneath, and you, for each of those, will have a chance to be a lucky winner of 4 of those books, which is excellent. So that's a lovely little collection to share with your class. And it's UK and Ireland only, and next week we'll be announcing the winners. And on that note, actually, we have winners of last week's book as well. Of Invisible Boy. This is who we had on last week, Sue. Alyssa Hollingsworth, which is a great superhero tale. I recommend this as a librarian. You can stock this one. We've got 15 copies. We've got 15 copies of this that we'll be giving away. Well done, Bethany, Steph, and Joy. They'll be in the post to you soon. So, Sue, let's get into the interview. Why do you find reading about someone's secrets interesting in fiction, and why did you base your books around it? And also, teachers listening, which books containing secrets have you read in the classroom?
So let me think. I would say, and I think you would probably agree, that secrets are fascinating in real life as well as in fiction. And I think we're all, secretly want to know everybody else's secrets. Or, well, I'm quite a nosy person, so I like to know people's secrets. But and I think it's human nature. I don't think it's just me. And the thing about secrets within fiction is that it's a safe way to explore them, and we can experience the thrill and the fear and the horror and the excitement. And then, when we finish reading, we can just close the book and go back to our hopefully normal, safer lives. So yeah, and also I think we like the thrill of finding out a secret in fiction, in this drip feeding way. When you have a thriller, you're trying to piece it together, and that's a very satisfying thing to do, I think, when you're reading a book. And if the author does it well, you get the pacing. If you get the pacing right, I think there's nothing like a good thriller.
Yeah, and pieces should always be there, shouldn't they, throughout the whole book, for you to hopefully have worked it out yourself by the time you reach the conclusion. And even if you don't, you think, oh, that's clever, isn't it? That's all the pieces are there.
I think authors do it in different ways, but yes, I mean, you either have a series of reveals or you have a twist. And someone once told me what the difference between a reveal and a twist was, and I hadn't ever really thought about it properly. But a reveal is an answer to a question that you are asking, a normal question, but a twist is an answer to a question that you didn't think to ask.
Okay.
So that's quite a good way of looking at a twist, I think. Again, I've got to be careful with spoilers, but the best twists work on the fact that it's there in plain sight, but you just didn't think that person was, they weren't involved in some way.
Yeah, okay. So you should be asking those questions, but you didn't.
Exactly.
You didn't think about it. Oh, that's really clever. I like that. Oh, that's a good. Yeah, and it's writing tools like that, isn't it, that help us explain that to children who can write themselves then, and they can then go on to be authors, and in their own way.
Yeah.
We've already got.
Sorry, I was just going to say, and then the other thing is when the reveals are just. There's no twist, but there's equal satisfaction, I think, in, as you say, being given the clues and then working it out yourself.
Okay. We've already got some plotting going on, Sue, on the Facebook group. Some teachers are always saying that they're coming up with some cracking murder ideas. Again, sorry, Joy, but we're not drawing from real life experience here, please. Okay. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Sue, how did you decide to tackle somebody moving school from one school to another and having a secret? Is that something you've drawn from? Have you seen children move schools, or you've got some girls as well, drawing from some of those experiences?
Yes, my 3 girls have never had to change school, certainly not at secondary school, which I think is very hard. For students, and my character Ruby, having to change schools in year 11, there was a student at my last school who had to do that, and I felt very sorry for her because she had to change exam boards and as well as making friends, and sort of getting used to the environment. So you're immediately on the back foot. So as a character in a book, that's a good place to be. Having a secret, it just combines something awkward with a problem, and that's a good place for the action to begin, really.
Yeah, I think it must be very unsettling, isn't it, to move schools? And your book, your first chapter that I've read, definitely delves into trying to work out who everyone is and where everyone's place is, as well as trying to achieve academically. That there's a lot of uncertainty in that, and I think it's an interesting way to deal with that in fiction and explore that and talk about that, hopefully to create empathy within classes and understanding.
Yes, and I think even as adults, it's really hard. I changed jobs at the beginning of September, and I'd forgotten how hard it was, how tiring, and just sort of working out everything in one go, because you've got to sort of get to know everybody, plus do your job, or if you're at school, sort of do your lessons. And yeah, it reminded me that actually it takes a lot of energy. And yes, we need a lot of empathy around that.
Absolutely. And the way the book starts as well is by introducing a lot of those characters. Was this to give it that whodunit vibe? I was wondering, because it sets the scene very nicely, all the friendships. We get a snapshot of everyone pretty much across across this canteen area. Was that to set the scene? And also, teachers at home, please do tell us, how do you teach character introductions in your class as well? We want to share some ideas on the session itself. Yeah,
I was worried about having too many characters in the first chapter, because I don't like a book where you're just trying to work out who everybody is, and then you have to, and you're on chapter 5 and you have to go back to chapter 1 to see who's there. So I was very aware of that. But you're right, it's good to sort of establish the key players in chapter 1. There's 1 or 2 characters that come in later as well, but also I think it puts you in Ruby's shoes, the character, because you feel a bit kind of intimidated by all these groups being described, and you can sort of feel a little bit of what she feels.
Yeah, I always think we're watching Arrow, I should be making notes about who everyone is, and I actually just want to watch it or read it, and think actually this is quite. This is have to really think hard.
Well, when you write it, you often go back. When you write this sort of thing, you often go back and seed little things later. I mean, I'm always doing that, sort of going back and adding the odd line that you need to make the whole thing hang together. And a lot of what I do when I'm writing these things is sort of disguising. I'm dropping some information that's really important, but I don't want to kind of flag it up, so I'll write it in a certain way to kind of dampen down its impact.
Great. And just thinking on your reading and writing, how did you start writing? Because this is your 5th book to come out. You've written quite a few.
Yes. I was a magazine journalist before, and like a lot of writers, I've always written. And I thought it would be quite easy to get a book deal, but it was really hard. It took me 8 years to get published, and and that was 8 years of really hard work of reading, lots of books about how to write books and trying to, really master it. But you just have to sit down and do it and make mistakes and learn from them. And even now, I find it quite hard to write, but I really enjoy it. I mean, enjoy it when it's going well. When it's not going well, it's a challenge. It just, your mind's kind of all over the place trying to work, especially when you're writing the sort of genre that I do. You're always trying to fit it together. And make it make sense and give people motivations and alibis, and it's it's a real workout for your brain.
So you have to always every character's place in the story makes sense to the overall theme, I guess. If they're there at a particular time and they're saying specific words, is that a clue to what is going to happen in the story or not? Is that a red herring? Is that all
Yes,
those thoughts through your mind?
yes, definitely the red herrings are very important. Sending readers off down a road that is a bit of a cul-de-sac is definitely a thing. And yeah, just trying to make it not obvious, you know, because a lot of writing can be kind of clunky. And yeah, just the smoothness is what I'm aiming for.
Great. Yeah, there's a line between making it too obvious and not obvious enough, isn't it? Or, you know, you want that satisfaction of, oh, I did just about work that out, or, oh, I was so close.
Yes.
Yeah. And Joy's just joined us again. We always start with drama, and that's a great tip. Lots of different ways, such as roll on the wall, freeze frame, the usual ones. If children cannot understand the character, they can't write out about it. I think that's a really good point, you know, to get under the character's skin. Thanks again, Joy, for sharing that. You can write about character then once you've lived in their shoes. How in fact, just off that point, how do you write about character, or do you have any of the tips that help you write too?
Sometimes if I get a bit stuck about a character, I'll do a journal entry for the character, which obviously won't make it into the book, but I just write a page of how that character's feeling or what they've done. You know, they've been to Tesco and they bought some milk and they dropped it, you know, something like that. So I get into their head. And just that free writing is really useful. So a diary entry of free writing is what really helps me with characters. I know people do dialogue between characters, but that doesn't help me so much as just focusing on one character at a time.
That's good advice. You might not use all of that diary entry or free writing, but it helps you get into the head of the character then.
Yes, and I think there's lots that you write that don't make it into the final book anyway. You know, those scenes that you lovingly craft that actually have no place because they don't help move the story on. Yeah. There's a lot of that.
That's hard to let go. Editing, that's the hardest part, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Now
I was.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, it went a bit funny then. I was just going to say the other tip I wanted to say was I think do it chunk by chunk. I think sometimes when you're writing an essay or a story, it just feels so overwhelming. And I often feel overwhelmed when I'm writing a book because I just think the whole picture is just too much. And so I just focus on like one chapter or one paragraph, or just don't get overwhelmed by the whole thing.
Good advice. Right. Well, Sue, now we're going to move on to the quickfire fiction area of our interview, where I'll be asking some questions to you about your own writing. Are you ready?
Oh, right. Yes, I think so.
Okay, let's hit it. Well, to start off, hi Sue, we're going to listen to you read a short extract just before we get going. So if you'd like to introduce the piece, and don't forget that this is going to be a resource on the litfilmfest.com website at some point in the future as well, or you can replay this interview from our YouTube channel as well, so you can watch it in school. You can listen to Sue reading and also follow up with some questions in your class. Or at some point this will be a LitFilmFest resource that you can use and actually see the text as well and the questions, and Sue reading her wonderful chapter, which is out in May next year. So sneaky peek, really excited. Over to you, Sue.
Thank you. So this extract is from I Know You Did It, and it's a little bit of chapter 1, and it's Ruby's point of view. The whole book is from Ruby's point of view. I've never been stared at this much in my whole life. That's not completely true. There was a time before this. But still, right now, a substantial proportion of the students in the canteen seem to think it's okay to openly scrutinise the new girl. We find a table with 3 spare seats. I'm with a tall, serious-looking girl called Georgia, who's been assigned to show me around today because we have the same form tutor and timetable, and her friend Amber. Just so you know, Ruby, says Georgia, she places her tray down, you have a band hair colour. That's why they're staring. Dove grey covers my natural blonde. How's grey a band colour? When it looks too noticeable, Georgia says. Her own long hair is dyed auburn at the ends. She's attractive in a big-eyed, fragile-featured way, and her black blazer looks as brand new as mine. She stops churning her kung pao chicken into the rice, holds her fork up, and fixes me with an intense glare. How come you joined late and in your GCSE year? It's a really rubbish time to move schools. Like I don't know that. I'm 2 weeks late starting the school year at Robertson Academy, and it sucks. I snap my Kit Kat in two and eat one half. I bought a random selection of food with me from home today in case my lunch card wasn't ready. The satsuma in front of me has greenish peel on one side. House move, I say. It was supposed to happen in the holidays. Georgia nods. She's trying to work me out, and I bet the most likely options in her head are attention seeker, awkward loser, or loner. In each class, there's been a seating plan. I've been put at the back of the class on my own, clearly a holding measure until the teachers can work out what sort of student I am and where I can be suitably placed in their ecosystem. Being at the back of the classroom suits me fine. I like to observe people. Where have you moved from, asks Amber? She's petite, with short hair and more eye makeup than is probably allowed. The sleeves of her blazer are rolled up to just below the elbow. Out of the area, I reply. Her narrow eyebrows stay raised. She wants more. I name a town not far from my old one. My mum got a new job and she had to take it, I add. I eat a bite of Kit Kat, suddenly hungry. It's pretty much the truth. Mum's new job is far better paid than her last one, and I'm pleased for her, but I hope she can manage it. Amber nods. So you don't know anyone in Winchester? I shake my head. She doesn't know what a relief that is. Georgia finishes her mouthful of chicken and says, Amber and I have known each other since we were at the same preschool, like years. She looks at Amber expectantly. Amber doesn't run with it. Instead, she says, what do you think of Robinson so far then, Ruby? I look round the noisy canteen. There's a slice of pizza sliding down a wall, rubbish under the tables, a couple of students having a fight in the lunch queue, and the supervising member of staff is on her phone. A bit cracked, to be honest. Seriously, says Amber with a faint air of surprise, as if she can't see what I can. It is, says Georgia, but you get used to it, don't you, Amber? I eat my remaining Kit Kat. It's pretty similar to my old school. Most people in our year are all right, Amber says. There are different groups, like anywhere. We've got the sporty lot, the theatricals, the weirdos, the absolute neeks, and the glossies. She nods her head towards a table of girls laughing. The head glossy is Naz. She's minted and thinks she's better than everyone else. I immediately work out who Naz is, tall and haughty with glossy black hair and enviable cheekbones. Then there are the linesmen, continues Amber. She points to a noisy crowd at a table near us. Good looking, with a lot more edge than the glossies and the sporty crew. Linesmen, I repeat. Because it's Isaac Linesman's group, says Amber, rolling her eyes. They're a sub-branch of the sporty lot. Some people find them amusing, but they're best avoided. That's Isaac, says Amber, as a tall, broad boy stands up with his tray. The other three get to their feet immediately. And he has an on-off thing with Monique, the girl with the hoops. I identify Monique, a girl with the big hoop earrings and blonde hair piled on top of her head in a messy bun. I watch as Isaac makes his way to the tray station. He walks slowly as if he owns the canteen. The others follow, chatting, laughing. Walking past us, he turns to Monique and says loudly, "Who's that with the granny hair?" "I don't know, but she should sue a hairdresser," she says. The whole bunch crack up. Georgia shrinks and occupies herself with her phone, and Amber carries on eating her panini. My hand curls over my satsuma. I need to get my head down and pass my exams in this school. Otherwise, I might have thrown it at either Isaac or Monique. Amber is looking at my hand, clenched around the fruit. Ignore them. Your hair's kind of cool, she said. Not my vibe, but it suits you.
Great. Ooh, it sets the scene so well. And yeah, makes you feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
With all, this pettiness going on, isn't it? And joining a new school, it's not a nice time at all, is it?
No.
But yeah, good to read it. Really did enjoy that. So, are you ready for your quick fire fiction questions, Sue?
I hope so, yes.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Right. Question number 1. What is it like to have a secret?
Not very nice. It feels like a burden. Even if it's a nice secret, I think you're worried about blurting it out.
Yeah, that weight. Often people talk about heaviness, don't they? As you allude to.
I think it affects you physically as well, having a secret. Yeah.
Yeah. Stress does, doesn't it? You know, it quickens your heart, makes you perspire. Yeah, absolutely. What kind of first impressions do you think you make?
That's a really difficult question, because how do I know? But what do I think? I think people probably think I'm a bit reserved. I think I'm a bit shy, even though I'm relatively confident. Yes, I think it's hard to think about other people's first impressions of you. And I think if you think too long about it, it just ties you up in knots, because you shouldn't really think too much about it. Do you think?
Yeah, I think a lot of people definitely put on a persona, don't they? When, like you say, you might be shy but confident, and some people put on a mask of confidence to actually appear more confident, and so people end up thinking that they are when in fact they don't feel it themselves. So yeah, I think people can change first impressions, definitely, through working at it quite hard, or when putting on a persona that they want to put across. But yeah, it is hard to see yourself through someone else's eyes when you particularly have spent so long analysing and thinking about yourself, you know, for your entire life.
Yes, it's not always a good thing, is it, to think too hard about that?
No. We see that with Ruby, don't we? And I just wanted to explore this with you. Why does Ruby think she is an attention seeker, an awkward loser, or loner? Which was what was written in the extract.
Yes, I think it's because she doesn't feel she fits in. Later in the book, there's a line about how someone accuses her of standing out, and she says it's not about standing out, it's more warning people that she doesn't fit in. So I think it's that she just doesn't. There's not a natural group for her.
And it's a funny time, isn't it, in secondary, where you spend a lot of time trying to fit in and working out you need to fit in. And then as soon as you get past that into sixth form, it suddenly becomes very cool not to fit in, doesn't it? And everyone's very individual, and you just wish everyone at that stage learnt it was okay to be different and individual, really.
Yes, and it's so normal, isn't it, to think that you don't fit in. And yes, it's very tough being at school sometimes with different groups.
Okay, next question. The phrase, "That's not completely true. There was a time before this," which is one of the first sentence. I think it might be the second or third sentence in the chapter. What do you think is the intended impact of this sentence on the reader? So what do you think they'll take from it?
I think they'll be intrigued. At least I hope they'll be intrigued. It's kind of like foreshadowing, but in reverse. And I love writing lines like this. This is my favourite sort of line to write.
Backshadowing. I think you've invented a new phrase.
Yes, because because it's my genre of book, there's something going on with Ruby, and so you're wanting to find out. You want to know why she was so stared at previously.
And I love that style of writing where you do reveal things, so the audience feels like they're involved, but you don't reveal everything. You keep something back, and you could have, couldn't you? You could have said exactly what happened in the past, full exposition of Ruby's life up until this point, but you decided to just keep back enough to keep people intrigued. So I like that line.
A few breadcrumbs, really, but you do find out quite early on. I think it's one of the early chapters. You know what her secret is, and that becomes part of the book, the story. But it's important to her character.
So Georgia, one of her new acquaintances, says that she talks about noticeable hair in not a positive way. How does Georgia feel if she's brought it up, do you think?
So I think Georgia is trying to warn Ruby that she might get picked on. And in fact, Isaac makes that comment, and Monique is pretty mean too. And Georgia, I think well, not I think, she is a character that likes to blend in and not be noticed. She also likes to be right. So the fact that she's telling Ruby this is she thinks that she's being nice, but she's also asserting that she knows things.
Why do you liken class to an ecosystem? I thought that was an interesting metaphor there.
So school, working in a school myself, I often think it's just like a habitat, and everybody has the place in it, but we all have to interact with each other. So it is like an ecosystem, sometimes harmonious and sometimes less harmonious.
Interesting. Yeah, I really like that analogy there. You can just see it in your head. It gives you such an image as a reader of how something would work. Lots of scurrying children, little insects.
yes, scuttling off to their classrooms. Yeah,
that's right. What are the thoughts and emotions of Ruby across this extract? You delve in quite a few different areas. What evidence from the text would you use also to back up some of these ideas?
Okay, so Ruby, poor old Ruby, starting school when she does. I think she's very wary, and she said there's a line about her being an observer. So she's watching these groups. I think she's grateful that Amber's pointed out these groups to her, but I think she can see them quite clearly herself. I mean, she doesn't know the full extent of the groups, but yeah, she's grateful that they're being pointed out. But I think she's also working out the relationship between Georgia and Amber, their friendship. And she can see that maybe Georgia is a bit more needy than Amber, because Amber, there's that line where Amber doesn't run with it because Georgia is trying to make it clear to Ruby that she and Amber have been friends for a long time, but Amber doesn't really want to discuss it much. So she's a little bit intrigued by that. She's tense. I think that's wheezing of the satsuma and the snapping of the Kit Kat. There's a brittleness there. But Ruby is a character, I think, she comes across as quite tough, because she's thinking about throwing the satsuma at Isaac or Monique. But then you see a softer side when she talks about her mum. She's quite protective of her mum. I think, there's that thing about she's a paradox really, because she's standing out with her dyed hair, but yes, she's quite happy sitting at the back of the classroom observing people. So I really like her as a character. Yeah, she's
and that's what real people are like, aren't they? We all don't fit under one category, like the jocks or the sports people, as you set out a bit, but people are more complicated than the boxes we put them in. So
yes, absolutely. They're rounded, aren't they? And trying to make your characters rounded comes little by little, really. This first chapter was written quite a few times as I discovered more about her.
Interesting.
But she's also carrying this secret, and she's a bit worried that people might know where she's from, and that might reveal something. So she's definitely on edge, and you feel sorry for her because she's suddenly landed at this school, but you don't know her, so the reader is holding back a bit. It's quite hard to analyze your own text, though, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely. I do get all of that, and well done. You get full marks for that answer. Excellent evidence from the text, I must say. But I feel her complexity, and you definitely get that. Even when she's texting her friend, obviously an old school friend, I'm guessing. She's very humorous. I think it's one of the best lines where she makes a little joke, and actually I laughed at that section, and you don't see that because she's so nervous through the opening part. So
yes, he's that boy Luffy. Is her only real friend from her last school. So I wanted to get him in early in that first chapter.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So next question. What are we meant to think about this description of Amber? She's petite with short hair and more eye makeup than is probably allowed. The sleeves of her blazer are rolled up to just below the elbow.
Well, I suppose that she's a little bit of a rule breaker compared to Georgia, at least, Georgia has a brand new blazer, even though she's in year 11. Which is very unusual because most year 11s walk around, don't they, in blazers that, you know, sort of up to their elbows because they're so small and a bit shabby. They've been kicked around school a bit. But Georgia likes dressing smartly. And yeah, Amber is bending the rules a bit with the makeup. Yeah, she's. I think at this stage, Ruby's kind of working out Georgia and Amber's friendship, and that it's not really a spoiler to say that their friendship is kind of drifting.
Okay, and you can see that in how they're dressed and their attitudes, and yeah.
Yes, probably less in common. They've got less in common than they did when they met each other in preschool, let's say.
not into playing with blocks anymore.
No. I mean, you know, people talk about legacy friendships. You know, perhaps it's the legacy friendship. I don't know. I mean, you'll have to read the book really to find out more. Yeah.
I can't wait. Okay, next. Only 2 more left. So you're doing very well. So don't. You probably have passed at this point, I must say. But go for the A star. Go for the A star, Sue. How are all the characters introduced in this chapter? What kind of style have you used to introduce them?
Well, because I was so worried about having so many, yeah, they are in these sort of cliques, these groups. That, you know, I've tried to make them stand out, but also this sort of grouping of them as well. Hopefully, oh, I'm not answering this question very well, but how are the characters introduced? Yes, I would say that, yeah, in groups. I think.
I see it panning across. It's like almost like because I do a lot of filming and I often see books in terms of like a camera shots or something, and I can just see the camera panning across the canteen, slowly introducing this person, talking to this person, then that person, and someone else walks. I think it was Scott, wasn't it?
Yes.
A bit later, like he runs in, so you have a lot of action and visual. It's quite nice and piecemeal, I think.
Thank you. You answered that question a lot better than I did. But I do think students tend to talk about groups at school. You know, I often hear, you know, people talking about that lot, and it's not a very good way. It's a bit of a lazy way, to tag people like that. But I think it's realistic, and yeah, Scott definitely isn't part of a group. He's a one-off, that character.
And I think just on that as well, we often chunk things in our head, don't we? That helps us process large amounts of information. So it's not necessarily the right way to group people so that you know who that group of people are, but it's a way that your brain works in order to actually assess a huge group of people very quickly.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, you're right. I often hear students talk about, so-and-so's friendship group. They divide people into friendship groups, which implies really that people can't move between friendship groups.
Yeah. No, they can't. Not allowed. Not allowed.
No, there's lots about being at secondary school that is, yes, tricky, I think. Yeah, tricky.
Okay, and last question. So this phrase, this sentence here, you nearly sent him through the wall, says Amber. I can't tell if she's impressed or horrified, which is when she shoves someone out of the way, really, for barging into her, doesn't she, towards the end. From this, which group do you think Georgia and Amber are in?
Well, I don't know what you'd say, but I would say they were nerds or geeky people. You know, I don't know how different schools, what language people would say. In my school, it would be neeks. But you know, yeah, I think Georgia and Amber are. They perhaps wish they could be the sort of person that would send someone ricocheting off a wall, but they're not. And yeah, Ruby is quite. They're quite intrigued by her.
Yeah, to see where she's going to fit and whether they're going to fit in with her, I suppose.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, thank you so much, Sue. I'll give you an A for that. Great work, which is a high score.
Yes. Yes, just missed off the A star, but never mind. Yeah.
Just missed off the A star. That's it. But thank you so much for being part of today as well. If you enjoyed this, then please do check out the resource that we'll be creating from Sue, from Sue's writing as well, so that you can use it in your classroom. That'll be on litfilmfest.com at some point in the future. Also, Sue, do you want to tell us a bit about your past books as well? I'll just bring up your website just to show people as well, and also a little bit about when your book's coming out.
Yes, so I Know You Did It is my 5th book, and that comes out May 2021, which I think you said. My previous book was Dead Popular. This is set in a boarding school, and that was great fun to write. Yes. Well, they've all got secrets, lies, and murder, my books, in them. That's the easy way to categorize them. So Lying About Last Summer, yeah, that was set in a bereavement camp. That was my first book, my debut, and that was featured on the Zoella Book Club. So I was very lucky about that. Second book was See How They Lie, and I know you shouldn't have a favourite book, but this is my favourite book currently. You know, it does change from day to day, but this is set in an elite wellness clinic in America, and it was great fun to write. Yes, and there's staff kids, and then there's the wealthy kids. And there's something sinister going on at that camp. There's something sinister going on in all my books, to be fair. And then Your Turn to Die has probably got the biggest twist that I've ever written in this one. That's set in a holiday cottage, a rural setting where mobile phones often don't work, which is very handy. But, yes.
Nice to have the excuse for mobile phones not to work in a story, actually, isn't it, as well? So.
Yes, well, that was very convenient. Yes, that there weren't very many mobile masts in that village. Yes.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for joining us. You're welcome back anytime. We'd be happy to have you. And all the best with the book release coming out next year as well.
Thank you very much for having me, Tim. I've enjoyed it.
Thanks, Sue. Take care. And also, if you really did enjoy that interview, please do like or comment or share on this video below. This competition will be running for a week, and we'll be giving away 4 books of Sue's to 3 lucky winners. So thank you very much for joining us, everyone, and take care and good night.